The Pesky Report is sponsored by High and Happy Catering out of Springfield, Massachusetts. Their chef, Michael Best, can cook anything you want with or without being infused with cannabis. Check out some of what they make on their Instagram at High and Happy Catering or call them at 413-785-8999. You'll be happy you did. Listening to the Pesky Report, a podcast dedicated to the Boston Red Sox. Here are your hosts, Brad Chandler, Ryan Brady, and Hogdale. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Pesky Report. This is episode number 101. My name is Brad Chandler. With me today, we don't actually have Ryan Brady. We have Bailey sitting in today.
Subbing in. I'm doing well. Can't wait.
Pretty excited about this episode. We also have Hogdale. How are we doing, bud?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, it's a special day.
Living the dream, right?
Okay. I'm just going to move that by.
And with us today, we have a very special guest. We have coach within the Boston Red Sox organization, the first African-American female professional coach, Bianca Smith. How are we doing today?
I am doing great. Also living the dream.
You are. You really are.
Yeah, you really are, though. Like, it's sad when Brad says it, but it's great when you say it.
He tells me, he's like, you're saying that because you're dead inside.
Yeah, because that's what my mom always does. Like when she's like was struggling, it's like, oh, living the dream, and like I can see like the lack of life behind her eyes. It's just sad.
We're all trying to do it.
So we're just gonna get right into this. We're gonna ask you some questions. We're not gonna try and keep you too long. So you were hired back in, well, it was officially announced in January of 2021.
Yeah, like early January.
What was your reaction when you heard the news?
When I heard the news that I got the job, or when it was actually announced, because those are completely different reactions.
Right. You said that you actually knew about it a month before, right?
Yeah. So sorry, go ahead.
What was your reaction when you were offered the job initially?
So when I was offered the job, I mean, super excited, a little shocked. Not that I didn't think I could get a coaching job, but since I initially had started interviewing for a scouting/player development hybrid role, I had a feeling they were going to offer me something. I just wasn't quite sure whether it was going to be coaching or scouting yet. So, like I said, a little shocked, but definitely super excited. And I mean, I remember my sister was the very first one I called. I managed not to scream on the phone. That for me when I called her. But no, I mean, it was kind of like also a finally moment. Like I finally got that job that I've been working for years.
And what was your reaction once it was announced?
A little bit more shock, because I didn't really get the heads up. So when it was announced in December by the Boston Globe, I knew that was coming out. And actually, when they told me that they were going to announce it, I think it was an hour later after they had called me that it came out. So I still did have a little bit of heads up, but I didn't know when the Red Sox were actually going to say anything. So I found out in the middle of one of my private lessons with one of my kids, and one of the parents walked in. I mean, my phone started going off. It was just vibrating like crazy. And of course, I didn't have time to actually look at it. And then one of the parents walks into the facility and says, okay, why are you showing up on my MLB notifications? And they showed me the notification. I was like, what? And finally, I took a step. I was like, all right, guys, I'm sorry. I got to check my phone quickly. And I had like 10 different text messages from friends, from colleagues, from some of the people in the Red Sox saying congratulations. And I was like, I don't have time to look at all this. And of course, at the time, I hadn't changed my notifications on Twitter to not like vibrate every single time somebody mentioned
Oh,
me.
God.
So that took me a couple days to figure out. I only had like 500 followers when I first got right before I got the job. So there was no need. So my phone was just going off like crazy for about a week before I figured that out. So, I mean, it was really cool. It was a little overwhelming. A lot happened in just a week, honestly. And I think right after that, I was also trying to attend the ABCA convention virtually. So I'm like balancing interviews, people reaching out to me, and I had a full-time job still. I mean, I was still coaching. I was still working as an assistant athletic director and giving private instruction. So it was shock. It was overwhelming, and it was a bit crazy for a while.
So another question I had for you, I did a little bit of research and I found out that you actually grew up a Yankee fan.
Yes.
So how did that did that just like change like right away? It's like, nope, Red Sox fan now, or
so I will say, if you had asked me that maybe 10 years ago, like I've been in this game for 13 years, but if you had asked me when I first got started, you can ask anybody. I was very adamant. I was like, no, I want to work for my favorite team. And I feel like a lot of people do that. They get into baseball and their like dream job is to work for their childhood team. But the longer I stayed in the game, the more connections I made. And after a while, yeah, I still loved watching the Yankees, but I was not as passionate a fan as I used to be. Partly because now I had worked for other teams. I got to know different players. I got to know different coaches. So it was more like I was rooting for the people instead of the team itself. So that's what made it like a no-brainer to accept the job for the Red Sox. It wasn't me being a fan anymore. It was me. Like I am more of a fan of baseball than I am of an actual team. And at this point, like I will watch any team. So for me, it wasn't like I was accepting a job with the rival of my childhood team. I was accepting an awesome job and I'm going to take it.
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Hogjo, you had the next one, bud.
Oh yeah, like speaking of like growing up like as a baseball fan, like who were some of your favorite players like growing up?
Jeter. Like that's
Yeah.
automatic. I mean, I started watching baseball the year, so I like literally grew up watching him. I think I cried during that what was it, the postseason game? Of course, I'm not really good with history or trivia. Once the season's done, I kind of forget it. But I do remember watching them. I think it was in one of the postseason games when it was supposed to be the year that he retired. And he had that ankle injury and decided to come back. And I remember seeing that and like nearly crying because I was just like, that one hurt. But I mean, that was the first jersey I ever bought. I saved up my chore money so I could buy his jersey. I mean, there wasn't really any other player that I was paying attention to as much as Derek Jeter. And then, of course, I mean, Jackie Robinson. But, I mean, that was more of he was just kind of like a hero and an inspiration for me growing up.
Understandable. Bailey?
Yeah. So, like, did you started off playing softball, and I'm just sort of curious, like, what position did you start at? Was there a favorite position that you had? And I know you were talking earlier, and you said, towards the end when you had an injury, you were just doing pinch running. So did you find that speed was a big part of your game?
Speed was always a big part, and that's actually because I played soccer for 10 years.
Oh, cool.
I did not start playing softball till I was 13. That was my backup sport because my mom was convinced I wouldn't make my high school soccer team and I needed another sport to play. And she was right. I got cut 3 days into soccer or into the school year. Not because I wasn't good, but because I hate running. It's kind of hard to play soccer when you hate running.
Yeah. You became a pinch runner.
Yeah. And then I became a pinch runner. But I actually started with softball. They put me at middle infield, which leads to a couple of crazy stories because I didn't know how to throw. Coming from soccer, you're not actually taught to throw. You don't need to. So I kind of threw like a shot put when I first started playing. And it was terrible. They also tried to get me to pitch because for some reason this wasn't my high school coach. This was my rec coach. He had this thing where if you could play two sports, you could pitch. So he's like, yeah, you're coming from soccer. You can pitch. I'm like, okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Like I've never seen a softball game in my life. I grew up watching baseball, but never softball. And I do remember coming in several times after our starter, and I was so much slower than her. I would actually strike girls out because they couldn't get the timing down. But like I could not pitch, so they finally gave up on that. Like I said, started at middle infield in high school. finally learned how to throw, but I learned how to throw sidearm. So that's actually my natural arm slot. And then after that fall, I remember our coach kind of got us all together and just kind of pointed to a couple people, including me, and went, you're all fast. You're going to the outfield. I'm like, all right, never played outfield before, but we're going to give this a try. Ended up playing all 3 positions for the rest of my playing career. And this is another funny story. I was never taught how to throw overhand properly until I got to grad school. So I was throwing sidearm from the outfield for 3.5 years in high school. And my coach was like, as long as you can get it there and you don't hurt yourself, it's fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it wasn't until graduate school, I think it was like 25 or 26, our head coach saw me throwing BP sidearm. He's like, no, this is not happening. So he taught me how to throw overhand properly.
So we have one of our other co-hosts. He wasn't able to come on. He had a couple questions that he wanted to ask you. One of them's a 2004 ALCS question. He wanted to know how'd you feel about that?
I'm gonna be honest. Like I said, once the season's done, I tend to forget it. So I actually had to look it up. I feel really bad. I feel like I'm not a true baseball fan, that I can't just think of that off the top of my head. But maybe that makes me a better coach, because once it's done, it's done.
Fair enough. And
I do remember I was upset then. As a Yankees fan, at least, I was very disappointed.
I bet.
Understandably so. We were really happy.
I'm sure.
What are your thoughts on the Australian pitcher Genevive Beckham, who debuted back in January?
I'm excited she gets the chance. I've said this, I mean, with a lot of women in baseball, whether they're working or playing, it's not that we don't have the skill. It's a lot of times we just don't get a chance to show what we can do.
Right.
So I'm excited that she actually got a chance and somebody was willing to take that chance on her, because there's that too. Like I'm sure plenty of people who'd be willing, but it's not always one person making the decision. So finding that team, finding that organization, finding that coach who is willing to, give you that shot, it makes a big difference. So I'm excited for her.
She has a nice release point. Kind of reminds me of like a John Lester type release, like the way that she pitches. Here's another one. One of our graphics guys wanted to ask. We're starting to see women take on bigger roles in baseball, including seeing the first female general manager, Kim Ng, in 2021. Do you think it's possible we will see the first female manager in the next 5 years?
That's always hard to answer that question, because there's just so much like movement in the organizations. I mean, I think it would be awesome. I think it's always possible. I mean, we could see a female manager next year and we just have no idea it's coming. It's just, like I said, there's so much movement within organizations. It just depends on availability, how teams do. I mean, Alyssa Nacken could be, a manager next year. I mean, I think it's always possible as long as like a team's willing to, again, take that shot and we show what we can do. In the next 5 years, I'm hoping. I mean, that would be great. But it just, the movement it's just hard. I'm going to be honest, especially because there is only one of us right now who's in or with an actual major league team, and the rest of us are in the minors. To see any of us jump that quickly would be very surprising.
Yeah, it took a long time for Kim to get that position.
Way too long.
Way too long.
I mean, she did that job like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. Working with Cashman. And it's nice to see that Jeter, she's working with Jeter.
Yeah.
So back to your days in high school and college. You had a couple injuries and you had to stop playing. What was the reasoning for you? You stopped in your senior year of college, you said?
Yeah, so I had an injury my senior year of high school and a bigger injury my senior year of college.
So that's the reason why you stopped playing?
Well, I mean, that's part of it. I never actually looked into playing after college because I didn't know that was a thing. Again, I grew up watching baseball. I did not grow up watching softball. Sorry to softball fans, I still don't really watch softball. I wasn't aware there was like professional softball until maybe a couple years ago. So I really don't think I was good enough to have played. I mean, I walked on to my college team mainly because of my speed. And maybe if I played, like if I'd started earlier, I think I would have had a shot. Because I'll be honest, I did pick up the sport pretty quickly for having started at 13. But yeah, I mean, I tore my hip labrum in October of my senior year, tried to rehab, didn't work. And then the week before spring break, I ended up having hip surgery on it.
That's harsh.
And yeah, it was, I think it was worse for me because at least my injury in my senior year of high school, it was just a broken thumb. So I could still run. But now I couldn't do anything. And I tried my hardest. I mean, my doctor told me, like, here's your recovery schedule. You're going to be on crutches for about 2 weeks. And then we're going to start rehabbing immediately. And you'll probably start walking normally after about a month. And then we'll start having you run in about 2 months. I was sprinting in 3 weeks because I was so determined to get back on the field. And now I tell my players, don't do what I did, because I was dealing with hip issues for another 2 to 3 years after, because I pushed too hard. But I mean, that's like, I really did try to get back at least to be a pinch runner again, because that's mainly what I did my junior year, since I was new. And I literally walked on the day before preseason started my junior year. So I didn't even have the fall. Like, I didn't know any of the players. Just hopped into the weight room and just started going at it. But I did try out for the women's national baseball team in 2016. So it's not like that hip injury completely prevented me from doing anything. And if I hadn't taken the Red Sox job, I actually did start looking at like summer teams that I could have played for. So I was still determined to play.
Okay.
So I won't say like the injury itself is what kept me from playing. It's more just a lack of knowledge. And then at this point, I'm about to be 31, and like, I'm perfectly happy coaching because I still get to dive and slide and shag balls and stuff. So it's almost like being a player without any of the pressure.
Bailey?
Yeah, so obviously I grew up huge baseball fan, and of course there was never anybody that looked like me on a major league team or anywhere. So I'm just sort of wondering, like, how do you feel knowing that there are young girls, not just like nationally, but like on a global scale, that can like look to you and these other women and see themselves and say, this is an attainable goal. I can work in Major League Baseball.
Honestly, I think what's the most important to me about that is that it's not going to take them as long to realize they could do it as it took for us. And part of that is because we didn't see anybody. Just like what I was saying, I didn't know about professional softball. It wasn't a thing I'd seen. Even coaching, I wanted to be a general manager when I first got into baseball, because I never thought about coaching because I never saw somebody who looked like me.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I was raised by parents who pretty much said, I mean, you could do whatever you want, no matter your gender, no matter your race, as long as it's something you want to do. So I kind of wish I had thought about that sooner. But I think, yeah, the lack of representation definitely affected that. At the same time, I would also hope that from seeing us on the field, even if they're not interested in baseball, just realizing that just because I don't see somebody doesn't mean I can't do it.
Yeah.
I try to tell our players too, until it is like scientifically proven that something is impossible, it's not impossible yet. Like, at least try. So I hope that's more the message they get, not the because I see somebody I can do it. It's the I can do it anyway.
Yeah.
Even if I don't see somebody, because somebody has to be the first, otherwise nothing gets done.
Absolutely.
So you had other positions within organizations. You were an intern. Was it in the commissioner's office?
So I was an intern with the Rangers, the Reds, and the commissioner's office. Yeah.
And they were just like, oh, you're just an intern. We're not going to hire you for anything else. Man.
Well, the Rangers, I don't think actually any of the intern class at the time got hired. Again, this is more just like movement. If there's nobody who leaves,
yeah, of course,
not a lot of teams will just create a job. The commissioner's office, the position I had was actually with the scouting bureau, and it was disbanded halfway through my internship. So I stayed on, of course. I mean, we had to do all the draft paperwork. I mean, the supervisor I had is still there, but that job actually sort of changed while I was there. And that's also when I decided I wanted to be a coach full time. I didn't want to be in the office anyway. And credit to the commissioner's office, they actually offered to let me stay past the draft until I found a job. And I was the one who said, I know. One, I don't like this, but two, I hated living in New York City. Like, I love visiting the city. I hate living in cities. I am not a city person. I get claustrophobic if I'm surrounded by people for too long. So I remember calling my dad going, Dad, I don't have a job, but can I move back in with you? Because I just need to get out of the city. So I did have the opportunity to stay a little bit longer. That was on me. And then with the Reds, I actually left my internship early to take the job at Carroll University. And I actually found out later they were planning on bringing me back for the diversity fellowship program. So they were actually planning on keeping me on. I just decided to take the job at Carroll because they also let me coach baseball.
Agil?
No, sorry.
Sorry.
I had my mic muted because my dog was going insane. So that was fun.
Been there.
Yeah, you know. Sorry, my brain's not working. You guys ask a question.
You definitely weren't a suit person. You were more wanting to wear the uniforms, is basically what you were saying, and why you wanted to get out of the front office.
I mean, the main reason was because I did miss interacting with the athletes. I miss being on the field, actually helping them, like having that one-on-one relationship. But there was a part of me who I hate wearing suits. I look like a little kid, like dress up when I wear a suit. Even to interviews, I no longer wear a suit. Business casual is the max I will do. Even when, so like with the Reds, you know, they have a rule, and I'm sure most teams have this, but opening day, you wear business formal. I was the only one who, like, I refused to wear my jacket. I'm like, if I got to be in a suit, it's just going to be the button up and the pants. And I took my shoes off. So like, I'm going to be as comfortable as possible in the stinking suit. I hate wearing it. Even law school, like business school, you usually get students who wear, they dress up. No, I was coming in with t-shirt, sweats. There were days I came in with my uniform because we had a game later. I love it. I'm going to be comfortable, and that is what I'm looking for. I can't do a job where I'm uncomfortable the entire time. Pretty sure every job I've had, besides like actually coaching, I've taken off my shoes at some point and just walked around with like socks or stockings or something.
So do you walk the field without shoes on sometimes?
I did at Case Western, yes. If it was a really nice day, and I would come to practice like 2 hours early, so my classes would get out. I'd come to the field instead of go home. Because maybe it was a 15-minute walk, so I could have gone home and then come back down. But I would walk to the field, I'd take my shoes off, go into the outfield, and I'd study in the outfield without my shoes on.
Love it.
I mean, this is not like a new thing. When I was a kid, we actually have a gravel driveway where my stepdad lives. And, you know, your parents go get groceries, they come back, and you go out and help them. I would come out with bare feet.
Oh,
and my parents was like, "What is wrong with you?" Like, when I'm at home, my dad is always asking me, "How are your feet not cold?" Because I will be completely bundled up, no socks, no shoes. Like, I do not like wearing them if I don't have to.
So what excites you the most about being a coach, developing the players?
Really, I mean, the progress for sure. I mean, getting to see them get better. And it's not even like seeing their numbers or just seeing their performance itself. It's more seeing when they realize that they're better. Because there's always that moment where it kind of clicks and they're like, oh, this is finally working. And that's what I love seeing. And sometimes it's, you know, something little in the, you know, the cages where you just change one little thing on their swing and they look at you and go, that feels great. Like those moments I love. But then it's also developing the player off the field. It's just kind of something I got as a college coach. I mean, especially working at a D3 school. I mean, I was a D3 coach for 6 seasons. And the majority of these guys, I mean, I probably maybe 2-3% might go pro. The rest of them, they're there for the love of the game. And then after they're done, they graduate and they go off and do even better things. And for me, like coaching doesn't end when you leave the field. Like I tell my guys all the time, once I'm your coach, I am always your coach. I don't care if I leave. I don't care if you graduate. This is why you have my number. This is why I follow you on like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook friends, like just making sure that they're okay. And if they need anything, making sure they reach out. And it's even the same with the Red Sox. Like we had a player who retired this offseason and made sure to reach out to him and just see how he's doing. We'd actually talked about what he wanted to do after he was done playing baseball, making sure I could help out with that. So it's it's a mixture of like, again, the development on the field is awesome. I love seeing them succeed in whatever goal that they have. Like being able to be a part of that, but also being able to see what they do off the field is just as important for me. I mean, they're more than athletes; they're still humans.
Right.
I mean, like like these are my kids. Anytime somebody asks me if I have kids, I'm like, yeah, I got about 200, 300 baseball players. Those are my kids, and I get more every year.
What was it like dealing with COVID during this past season when you were coaching? I'm just curious about how like that went into things.
It actually wasn't that bad.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, this past season was easier than the season I had at Carroll.
I'm sure.
We got shut down because of COVID. And I was an assistant AD, so I had to actually deal with a lot of the administrative stuff. But as a coach, I think the hardest part was honestly having to wear the mask outside for a while. The day that MLB said if you're vaccinated, you didn't have to wear your mask outside, we nearly had a bonfire until our trainer was like, guys, you gotta wear it inside.
Yeah.
Don't wear your mask just yet. But I'm pretty sure when that happened, not only did we just, just for fun, we threw our mask on the ground, but I think at that point, the only time we went back inside the complex was to go through for food. Otherwise, we never went back inside. We would have an hour before we had to do something after our staff meeting. We'd go sit in the cages or go find somewhere else outside we could be. So that, at least as a coach, I think that was the hardest part. And then we actually did pretty well at the complex as far as like any cases. I don't think we had any. I was kind of surprised. So, I mean, I give credit to the rest of the coaching staff, our trainers, our medical staff. I mean, we did really well making sure that guys were on top of things. I mean, with the testing, we kind of made a game out of the testing we had to do because, of course, we had to do the spit tests.
Oh, yeah.
That's why.
Oh, yeah.
So
you have to spit in the tube, right?
Yeah. So our game became we have to get our temperature checked at the gate.
Right.
And then you have about a 2-minute walk until you get to the testing site, which is right in front of the door. So once we get our temperature checked, our goal was to gather as much spit as possible. So we only have to spit once into the tube by the time we get there. So you could see us like walking slowly, like trying to gather spit up. And I remember the very last day we had to test was the day I finally did it. And I gathered and I was so excited. I'm like, you make things work. Like it's we had to test all the time, but we made it a competition. And it was always, hey, did you manage to, how many times did you have to spit today? So it was like going from 4 times to 3 times to 2 to finally that 1 where you've got just this mouthful of spit that you're ready to spit out.
And you can just go. I love it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we definitely made it work.
Great.
Now, I saw that you have a degree in law and business. Like, how does that like apply? Like using that like as a coach? Like, do you find like yourself pulling from experience like in that kind of degree using that as a coach or?
Surprisingly, yes. And a lot of people don't expect this. So with the business degree, I see it as when you're trying to run a business, you're trying to get ahead of your competition. And the only way to get ahead of them is not to follow them or react to them. It's to think outside the box and do something different. And it's the same thing as being a coach. We can't, I mean, at just player development and overall as a manager when you're trying to win a game, you can't just continue to do what every other team does. You have to try to do something different and try to get ahead. And those are the ones that are actually going to succeed. So, and it's the same as developing a player. If this doesn't work, now I got to think outside the box. What else can I do to help this player? But the law degree is actually, I think, more applicable. I say being a lawyer is just like being a coach. I mean, you have to get to know your client really well. You have to build up that relationship, that trust. Right. You have to learn your information as much as possible so you could break it down for them and give them what they actually need instead of overwhelming them with what we call legalese. And then 50% of the time, your answer is going to be, it depends. So it actually does apply. I think it just takes some creative thinking to make it work. But it definitely would have applied more if I'd stuck to the general manager route. I will say that.
Yeah.
But it's fun being able to say, I'm pretty sure I'm the only, if not professional coach, maybe the only baseball coach who has a law and a business degree.
Yeah.
This is something to sit back on. Right.
And yeah, it's a good backup plan. If I ever get to the point where I'm not coaching anymore, I know I could go back into the front office.
You said that you got interviewed as a scout. Is there is it just like the human element that really drew you into coaching above scouting, or was there any other reasons like you really just wanted to be a coach and were set on being a coach?
Yeah, I mean, the scouting was interesting to me, and I became more interested when the Rangers sent me to scout school. So being able to read the scouting reports is really helpful. Knowing, I mean, even as a coach, you're using the same tools to evaluate players. The biggest difference, though, is like as a scout, you're trying to predict how they're going to do in the future, whereas a coach, you're trying to figure out how to get to them to that point. But yeah, the biggest thing for me really was just that human aspect. I mean, I loved the traveling, so I would have been happy doing that as a scout. I going on road trips is my favorite part. I was that weird player who away trips were my favorite part of the game. I love being on the road. But yeah, it really is just, I mean, I know scouts build the relationships with the players too. I think it's a little different though with coaches when you're spending 10 hours a day with them 6 days a week. Like, you get to know them a little bit differently. And I mean, the scouts have certainly helped too. I mean, once we get guys in, like they can give us information kind of ahead of time. So we have an idea of what we're dealing with already. And then it's just, being closer to the field. I still being behind this net was still not close enough for me. Like, I wanted to be in the dugout. Strategy is my favorite part of the game. I mean, I love player development. I love seeing these guys get better. But even at the major league level, there's always something you can get better at. But the in-game strategy and preparing for a game, my favorite part of the game. Like base running, absolutely love that part of the game. I think it's a lost art. Trying to bring it back.
Yeah.
Yes.
But,
Please develop these players so that when they come up,
Like the state of modern base running is.
our catcher had the most steals of the team, the entire team, with 7.
I will say, at least personally, like I'm working on trying to get that buy-in. I know it's a little hard, but I mean, I try to tell our guys the base running is so important because unless you're hitting a home run every at bat, you're gonna be running the bases. Like if you hit a double, guess what? You're still running the bases. So you should probably learn how to do it.
Yeah.
Like a good base runner. I was not a power hitter at all. I'm 5 foot with like no upper body strength. But I didn't strike out much in high school. I was a contact hitter. I got on base, even if that meant I walked, and then I would steal second, I was still third. And then for a hitter, I mean, like, that's great. Now all you have to do is bring him in.
Yeah.
Should have had her teach Ryan LaVarnway how to steal a bag.
That's like old school in such a good way, though. Like, that's what I love about baseball is like home runs are great. They're sexy. But I love someone who can literally just be an on-base machine. So I love that message and that you're pushing that. I think that's fantastic.
But I tell our hitters, I ask them, what is your job as a hitter? And 90% of the time I get to get a hit. I'm like, no, your job as a hitter is get on base. I don't care if it's a walk. I don't care if you get hit. Get on base.
Yeah, I love it.
Like, that's also why teams are looking at on base percentage more than batting average. Because
absolutely,
like if your batting average is low, but you're on base all the time, like let's develop you as a walk machine. Get on base, and then if you're a good base runner, again, steal second, steal third, put yourself in a good position to help the hitter. It's a team game, not an individual game. Sorry, I went on a rant there.
No, that's not great.
I love it.
Great message.
It is a great
I'm glad
message.
we have foot soldiers for the have good base running bandwagon.
Trying.
Someone pushing the narrative.
Hey, Bailey.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if you find like the big end goal for you, like would it be because you're talking about how much you love strategy? Would it be to be in that manager role? Like, is that something that you would absolutely love to be doing?
Yeah, I'd say 75-80% of the reason why I want to be a major league manager is the strategy.
Yeah, that's
again, because I feel like you don't have to be the strongest, you don't have to be the fastest, you don't even have to be the best player. But if you could take advantage of your strengths, you can help a team. Like, that's what teams are looking for, the ones who can actually help a team win no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And then the other like 20%, whatever percentage I gave, that's just how I was raised in our family. You always aim for the top. You aim to be not only the best of the best, but you aim to be your best. And like, I know my best is major league manager. Like, I know I can get to that point. So in our family, like, you don't limit yourself. You're never the reason why you stop at some point. Unless, of course, you're perfectly happy with that, which is also okay. But again, in our family, we were raised to, you try to aim for that top spot as much as possible.
That's great. I love that message too. Just keep, and I can't wait to see you do it because I know you're going to do it.
I keep telling you, it's coming. Hopefully it's with Boston. I mean, love working for this organization. And I'll say, even before I took this job, that's what I heard for years, was this was the best organization in baseball to work for. And they're certainly proving everybody right.
I'm glad to hear that, because we do, you know, we've had, like, we're with Raquel Ferrer, like, we've had women in the front office, and now seeing that the organization is bringing women into coaching roles too. I'm just extra proud of being a Red Sox fan, just seeing them like breaking all these barriers. I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm excited about the new coach we have, Katie Kroll. Still haven't met her in person, but we've been talking for the last year, and we're super excited to finally get together at spring training.
So cool. Oh.
So you're in Wisconsin right now. When do you get down to the facility?
I report March 4th. So I'm up in Wisconsin until February 21st. Personally, I mean, that's awesome for me that I have the time, because that's actually the day after the first 3 games for Carroll University. They're playing in Cincinnati, so I'll actually get to go to Cincinnati with them, watch them play. I've been with them since their first day of practice this offseason, or this preseason. And then I'll head back to Texas, where I live with my parents. You know, don't have to pay for rent. Get my car checked, get it washed. Poor thing needs to. It's been a rough winter for my car. You know, pack up everything, and like I've been telling people, if it doesn't fit in my car, it doesn't come with me. So whatever doesn't fit has to go into storage. So it gives me about a week and a half to figure out how I'm going to play Tetris in my car.
Yeah.
And then I drive to Florida.
How was your first season?
Awesome. I mean, yeah, short story. It was awesome, and I can't complain. I think the only thing I complained about was the weather, but it's not something we can control. So I think everybody complains about it. Yeah, it's not even really the heat. I grew up in Texas, so I don't like the heat. It's
humidity.
the humidity. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh God, the humidity.
Oh my
like sweating.
gosh, some of our guys would go through 3-4 pairs of batting gloves in a game.
Oh God.
Because they were just sweating so badly. And you know, as the first base coach, I'm getting all their batting gloves. So I would just like a pocket of sweat in my back pocket.
You're like,
yeah, I was just like, all right, guys. I can't complain, because, you know, sign of a good first base coach is when I have a bunch of gear. But it's all, you see all these other first base coaches who like strap on the guards on their arms and their legs. I'm like, no, that's nasty. I'm not doing that.
Way too humid for that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the guys were awesome.
That's awesome. That's,
like I said, the organization's been great. The coaching staff, I joke, they are the annoying older brothers I never wanted. It's interesting because besides one of our managers, so we had like 2 managers, 2 pitching coaches, 2 hitting coaches, and 2 fourth coaches. So besides one of our managers, the rest of us, this was all of our first year in this position down at the complex. So of course we're all now kind of learning the organization, learning the complex. I mean, a couple of them were with the organization, just not in Florida. And now we're kind of learning how to work together. And, you know, our staffs came out a couple of days ago, and nearly all of us are coming back. So I'm super excited about that. Obviously, we've been in touch all off season. But yeah, I mean, everybody's been great. I mean, we had a great season, which is really helpful. I know it was a little rough with COVID, because, I mean, things had to change just, you know, in the clubhouse, even outside of the clubhouse. But like I said, we made things work. And I'm excited to see what 2022 looks like. I got to do way more responsibilities than I expected, and I think even the Red Sox expected. But anybody who knows me well knows that's pretty on par for me, is to get a job, be given 2 responsibilities, and then within like 6 months, I'm doing 10. Good. Not because the team gives it to me, but because I literally take them over.
Overachiever grind set. Gotta love it.
I mean, that's. I actually had somebody tell me in May that I'm doing a great job, but I could slow down a little bit. I'm like, we haven't even started games yet. You have no idea what you're in for, do you? So, I mean, also just having that freedom of being able to make an impact where I think I can truly make an impact. Because I know it could be easy where, you know, organization says, no, this is your job, stick with it. And the Red Sox were like, hey, anywhere you think you can help. I mean, I never felt like I couldn't bring up something, never had any issues, but like if there was something I thought we should work on, always felt comfortable enough bringing it up to our manager. And most of the time he's like, yeah, all right, let's change the schedule slightly. We could work on this. So having that, I mean, just all the coaches being open-minded, organizations always checking up on us, which was nice. But yeah, I mean, it was a great first season, and not to mention the first year where I got to just coach. I didn't have a second, third, fourth. I mean, there was a 2 or 3 month period I was doing 7 part-time jobs while coaching. So
Damn.
yeah, this is why like I can't, it's really hard to complain when I've been working my ass off to get here and I can finally just focus on coaching.
Oh,
That's nice. So MLB, I believe they just announced that if you're fully vaccinated and you have your booster, media will be able to get into the clubhouse. With spring training coming around, how do you feel about that?
I'll be honest, I was never a really big fan of media going into the clubhouse because I feel like the clubhouse should be for the players. Like that's their spot. I mean, honestly, like we didn't even really go into the locker rooms unless we needed to get a specific guy. But it's not like we have our talks in the locker room. Like we bring guys out like that. Even for coaches, like that, the locker room is the player spot, and I feel like that's kind of how it should be. I mean, that's why teams have a media room.
yeah.
Like that is dedicated to the media.
Touché.
Yeah, why would we have a media room then if they could just go anywhere? And I'm not saying they have like full run, but yeah, I feel like the clubhouse should be that spot for the players and, you know, the coaches. I mean, especially at the major league level, I know some clubhouses are set up that way where coaches' locker room is like right next to the players' locker room. There's not much separation anyway. But I've never been really a huge fan of media being able to go in, especially like right after a game. Like guys need time to decompress, take a break, step away from the game. And even as coaches, I mean, this is why you have to get to know your players. There are some players who I know, like they have a bad at bat. I can go up to them immediately and ask them about it, and they're okay. And then there are some, they have a bad at bat. Like, don't talk to them for a good 10 to 15 minutes. Like, let them get it out, and then they're okay. And I feel like as coaches, like we get to know them that way. But the media, you just jump in. Like this is why some players snap because like they don't want you talking to them. I've got coaches who don't even want to talk baseball for a good 2 hours after the game. That's just how they are. So players definitely need a space where they can get away from that before they get bombarded.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it because like people would talk about like, oh, Barry Bonds never liked the media, but he was always really good to fans. It's like the idea of like Barry Bonds could be very upset and you're all up in his face right now and he doesn't want to talk about this versus, you know, so it does make sense that it's sort of like their place to decompress and then somebody's immediately coming into their area.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, would you want somebody invading your personal space when you've just gone through a bad game?
It's like you have a bad game, like someone shoves a microphone in your face, like, so you really suck today. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah. How do you feel? It's like, how do you think I feel?
Yeah, exactly. And then of course, like they get in trouble if they say anything wrong. I'm like, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they're
human.
And anybody would want to snap at that. Like, or you get a stupid question, you just want to be like, really, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I just have one last question, and then Bailey and Hogdale, if you two have questions, you can ask them. Obviously, my question: did you end up meeting Alex Cora last year?
No, I did not. Major League spring training and minor league were separate,
Okay.
so I didn't get a chance to meet him personally. But he did surprise me. I wasn't even at spring training yet. I was still here at Carroll. My birthday is usually over spring training. And he actually texted me on my birthday. And so I woke up to a happy birthday text from him and I was shocked. And like I said, I was still here at Carroll. It was the first home game. And I got a couple of guys here who are huge Red Sox fans. So of course, I'm walking into practice going, guys, Alex Cora texted me happy birthday. And they're get really excited. So I mean, definitely hoping to meet him soon. I mean, I've heard great things about him, not just from the Red Sox, but even other organizations. So we'll see what happens this year. But yeah, last year, I didn't really have any interaction with the major league staff or I think with AAA was at the same time as well. So like I said, hopefully in the near future, we'll get a chance to finally meet in person.
Yeah, he definitely looks a little weird now. He's got a beard going on.
There's a lot of guys that, like even the head coach up here at Carroll, is the first time I've seen him in a beard, and I was like we had our coach Zoom call for the first time, and I just like, okay, I know it's been a long time, but God,
I only grow the beard because I look like I'm 12 without it.
I have learned to embrace it. Nobody ever expects my age. Everybody, I had players who assumed I was right out of college. I was like, thank you guys.
I know you feel good. It makes you feel good about yourself. Somebody I work with was like, you can't be more than like 24. I was like, I will take that and run with it. Thank you. Like, yeah.
Oh, it's crazy once they find out my background, because then they're like, okay, then you can't be as young as you look.
Yeah, it's like you're so educated. Like, how can you have this much education and be so young?
All right, Hogdale or Bailey, do you have any more questions?
You can go first, Hogdale, if you have one.
No, I didn't. I actually didn't have everything we got. I'm pretty sure I had everything I wanted to. How about you, Bailey?
Yeah, I just have one more. I mean, it seems like everybody's been so receptive to you being in this organization, being in baseball. Like, there are like a small subset of, vocal men on whether it be Twitter, whether it be here, there, about women in this sport. And I just want to know, like, how you feel, what you would say to these people that think you don't belong here when it's completely wrong.
One, it depends on the comment. Because I do try not to look at the comments, but at the same time, well, so there are days where, I mean, we all have it, where days where you're kind of like, okay, am I really doing everything that I should be doing? Like, you start to get a little bit down in yourself. And of course, those days I actually start looking for the positive comments just to make myself feel better.
Right.
The negative comments, honestly, I laugh at now. Because some of them are just so ridiculous. Like,
I'm sure
some of my favorite ones are the ones like, how can she be a hitting coach if she's never faced a 95-mile-per-hour fastball? And like, wow. It might not be 95 miles per hour, but I did play baseball, which people tend to forget. They focus on the softball aspect, but I actually played more innings baseball in college than I did softball.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was on the club baseball team in college.
That's awesome.
At the same time. And since I was a pinch runner for softball, like, I actually started on my club baseball team.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
what positions did you play for the baseball team?
So I was still outfield, but I was also a switch hitter because I was a slapper in softball. So I learned how to hit lefty.
Yeah.
So it was, when they get the shock that this 5-foot girl is coming up and hits right the first at bat, and all of a sudden switches left to the other. And they're like, what is going on?
That's great.
But yeah, so there's that aspect where, I kind of I feel like I always got to remind people, I'm like, I did play baseball. This is not a new thing. And as far as the speed, I'm like, I'm sure you never faced a 95-mile-per-hour fastball either.
Yeah.
But at least
sitting on the couch, right? Yeah.
But I'm like, I've also faced a 75-mile-per-hour softball coming in from 45 feet away.
Yeah.
So that's actually faster than a 95-mile-per-hour fastball in baseball. So I've actually faced faster than what some of these guys are seeing. And then sometimes I see that, and I actually kind of want to jump into a bullpen and be like, okay, now I just kind of want to stand here just so I can say that I've done it.
Yeah.
And then, I'll also see comments like that, and they definitely don't affect me because of the year that Carroll had this past season. I took over as the hitting coordinator, completely revamped the program, and they set 5 hitting records and was 20th in the nation in home runs.
That's going to be so satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and like
see your imprint.
And like, those are the type of things like I usually kind of keep secret until I need to pull them out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, it shouldn't matter. Like, I know that my players trust me. So I'm like, that's really all that matters until you were trying to do this too, until you know my actual background, everything that I've had to work towards. I mean, everything I've had to do just to get this job, you would never be saying any of that stuff. So honestly, like, I really don't care, because unless you're the person hiring me, what does it matter what you're going to say? And I also would dare them to say it to my face.
Yeah.
Because these dudes that say this are like fucking 400 pounds, like Dorito dust in their finger losers. Like,
yeah, like, I'm still
genuinely
out here diving for balls in the outfield, making sliding catches. Like, it's not like I can't play. And
Meanwhile,
then
these dudes pull a hammy going up the stairs. Like, yeah, like not on the same level.
I mean, I'm nowhere near as good a shape, obviously, as a professional player, but being able to do it's kind of satisfying when you make a sliding catch during spring training and your guys are like, whoa, she can't. Yeah, it's not like I didn't play.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as like the comments, the only people that matter to me are obviously, you know, my family. And I hate to say this, but I mean, if my family ever got to the point where they were trying to discourage me, I'd probably ignore them too. As I just like, it's my life. So I'm going to do what I need to do. Obviously the organization,
Right.
I never want to put them in a situation where I'm doing something wrong. But then obviously my players, like they are the most important to me. Like I need to know that I'm doing a good job for them. So if they have any negative comments, obviously I'm going to pay attention because that means I need to change as a coach. But until I get those, I don't really care what other negative comments come about because they usually don't affect me at all.
How did the team, like, how did the players embrace you? Like, did they embrace you as a coach?
So we had, a couple who immediately would come over, introduce themselves, start talking, got to know them. And then it just kind of spread from there. Players talk to each other. And I don't think it had anything to do with me being a woman. It was just more me being a new coach. For any new coach, I mean, no player is going to listen to a coach that has never worked with them, has no idea who they are. I mean, it's really true that players don't care what you know until they know that you care. Yeah. So getting to know the players, they start talking to their teammates, and then their teammates start approaching me. Some players take a little bit longer, but by the end of the season, I mean, all of my guys were great. Even from the very beginning, I always had the respect. It might not have been like complete trust because we didn't know each other yet, but they were never disrespectful to me. But once they figured out that not only did I know what I was talking about, but I actually truly did care about them, they opened up a lot more. I mean, this was part of the great season, was like we just had a lot of fun being with them. I mean, we always try to make practice fun, especially, you're doing fundamentals. It gets boring after a while. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again, right. Especially at the rookie level where we have extended spring training for weeks on end. So just, like with the guys I have here, I mean, follow them on Instagram, follow them on Twitter, keep in touch with them, see how they're doing. I text our minor leaguers during the off season just to see how they're doing. I mean, one of them, his birthday was yesterday. Shot him a quick text saying, happy birthday. Can't wait to see you. And it's like, it's those little things that once they pick up that I'm truly there for them. I'm not trying to build my career. I'm not trying to, boost my ego or anything. Like I am here to help them. Like if I don't know something, I will tell them that I don't know, but I will find out. Like these guys pick up very quickly. Like I can't lie to save my life. I actually had a player pick up on my tell very quickly and ended up telling me that he knew because
so you're not.
I can't.
You're not a poker person.
No. Oh my gosh, I cannot take my facial expressions. I got to work on that because you can tell. Like, and it's kind of bad as a coach because you're supposed to be even keeled just like the players, but you can tell when I don't get mad very easily. Like it's very rare that I get mad, but I will get annoyed or frustrated with something and they can tell immediately. And this is I was also a cheerleader for 5 years. So you would think I'd be able to control my facial expressions when something bad happens. And for some reason I can't. But the players were awesome. And I'm incredibly grateful for that because you're not a coach without your players.
That makes sense. So I know for a fact you have three fans here,
Absolutely.
and you also have more within our crew as well. We have about a crew of like 6 or 7 people. So we are definitely we were super excited to get you on here. When I shot you a message and you responded, not just responded to the fact that you looked at it. I was just like, oh crap, she looked at it. Did I say something stupid? And then you responded and you were like, yeah, I'd love to come on. I was just like, oh, wow. And then I was telling these two right beforehand, I'm really excited and nervous all at the same time because you're a coach within the organization. And I just don't want to sound stupid. That's basically it.
Well, there's no stupid questions, and I mean, especially you learn this really quickly working in professional baseball. Like everybody's just human.
Yeah.
I mean, trust me, the number of stupid things that I might do in a day. My players make fun of me all the time, but that's part of the relationship. Like I got players here who they constantly tease me, and I just know it's because we're that close now. Because I'll do the same thing to them.
Awesome.
We have a player who this is the same guy who retired. When he found out I had a law degree, he would come into the cage and ask some random philosophical question every morning because he knew I would argue and I couldn't help myself. And this would last for like months and everybody else knew what was going on. But then, draft happens, we get all the new guys in, and all of a sudden they see us like arguing in the cage. And I remember after like 15 minutes, we walked out and I just looked at them and they're kind of like looking at us going, God, is he in trouble or something? And I looked at the player, you realize now they think that we're like mad at each other. And he just starts laughing. Well, like, that's just, yeah, it's pretty much with anybody. And like, we're just people.
No, I get it. I was telling a story about meeting Tech a couple of weeks ago with Lavarnway, and I was just like, he's the only player I've ever met where I almost dropped my phone when I went to go take a picture with him.
Yeah.
I'd be that way too.
I was literally shaking. The guy had to all right, calm down. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'll admit, I was that way when I got my first internship with the Rangers, but not with the players. I was that way when I got to meet JD for the first time. Because I was like,
awesome.
Oh my God, it's a general manager, because that's the job that I want. So I would freak out about that. Kind of was the same thing with Alex Cora, not because I got nervous, but because I hadn't met him personally. So I thought it was just really cool that he would just send a happy birthday message out of nowhere. That shows what kind of person he is.
That's coach.
But yeah, I get that. Like I said, I was that way with the front office for a while before I finally just kind of relaxed and calmed down.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot easier talking to you than I thought it would be, especially with these two here to help out. So,
good.
Do you two have any other questions for Bianca before we let her go?
I just want to say thank you for coming on. I mean, I think it's so great that you took time out of your day to come and talk to us, because we're just huge fans of this organization, and to be able to talk to somebody who's working within it, and somebody who one day, we can say, we interviewed hopefully, I mean, I don't know if you want to be the first manager, I
would hope not, because
exactly.
It's a lot of pressure.
You want to be there.
It's not the pressure.
Really?
No, because I had plenty of people for years saying I would be the first Black female coach. And my answer, any pressure that's on is usually me just wanting to be better.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I don't want to be the first is because I truly believe that means we're waiting too long.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a good way to look at it.
And even with me, I think there's got to be other coaches who were also qualified for this job who should have had this job before me. At least with even Black women.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I actually don't know many, but even just being the first woman coach, people would ask me about. I mean, yeah, we had Justine Siegel, but it's still I don't want to be the first, because that means we're waiting.
Yeah.
Unless, absolutely. Of course, I become the first next year, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah. If it's the next couple of years, then yes. But just being able to talk to someone who one day will be a manager in Major League Baseball is just, and especially being a woman, that's makes me very giddy and very excited. And thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely.
It's fun.
It was genuinely, you were a joy to talk to. This has been really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we get you on again, probably after the season, because you'll be busy.
Yes.
So congratulations. we didn't get to talk to you before when you first started, but congratulations on your first season. Hopefully the next season's better and you have just as much fun,
Yeah.
So
we'll mold the best players.
I'm looking forward to it now that we all have that 1 year under our belt. We don't have to spend that first, couple of weeks just kind of learning each other. We already know each other. We already have fun. So it's now we're going to be able to just kind of hit the ground running.
Best of luck.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely, best of luck. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll keep in touch, and I will definitely be following you on Instagram.
I appreciate it.
If I had an IG, I would.
I only got one because of this job. Trust me. I didn't have one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Everybody's
Yeah.
like, well, all your
need
players
one.
are on Instagram. You should probably get one.
Yeah.
Fine.
Like, I'm a
My
Twitter
players
kind of
already
guy.
asked about Snapchat, TikTok. I'm like, no, my
No.
limit is Facebook.
That's too
Twitter,
Gen
Instagram.
Z for me.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
like,
no more. I could barely
Right.
keep up with the social media I have already.
I can't do Facebook anymore. Facebook keeps banning me.
Oh, that's
It's true.
he fights with other Red Sox fans.
I don't even fight. I just like, oh, that's a dumb statement. And it's like Facebook goes, you have been banned for 24 days. And then like I get done from 24, then it's like you're done for 30 days. It's like, all right, I'm just done with Facebook.
See,
I
that's
have-
two of my siblings.
We have someone else who runs the Facebook page. So anybody wants to yell at the Facebook people,
It's not even you.
it's not me.
Had to remove yourself from this situation.
Two of my siblings go through that because I have one brother who's a professional soccer player, so he goes through similar things as me, like the comments on Twitter. Our siblings, though, are the ones who will start fighting with people on Twitter. Like, we don't even
Not even you.
We're the ones who will get on and just start like Twitter battles, and we're just like, guys, just stop.
Gotta admit, at the beginning, when people would just talk crap, I would get trigger happy. As the season went on, I was just like, all right, I can't get banned from Twitter. I'm already banned from Facebook. So,
It's like we're cutting off our marketing streams. We need to calm down here.
all right, Bianca, thank you so much for joining us. Bailey, Hogdale, thanks for popping on.
Yeah, always.
And I'll talk to you guys all later.
Bye.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to the Pesky Report. Make sure to follow us on social media at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Pesky Report. No matter what platform you're listening to us on, please make sure to leave us a review and a comment and let us know how we're doing. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name. And we're still here.